Why is it that some people think they have a God-given right to take what's not theirs?
I don't know.
Well, that's no exception when it comes to the great outdoors. In fact, theft was such a big problem that they decided to designate almost 350 square miles of Arizona as a national park. The Petrified Forest National Park, that is. But did it work? And what was so precious that they had to take these drastic measures? Our family is visiting there right now to see what's really going on. We were heading west on the I-40, so we entered the northern portion of the park. Our first stop was to the Painted Desert Visitor Center to pick up the Junior Ranger activity book. And if you're tired of gas station slop, go stop in at the Painted Desert Diner. In our case, I made a beeline for the gift store. Very nice setup they got in this joint. If you go to the front desk, ask one of the attendants for the Junior Ranger activity book and they'll be happy to assist you. And here's what it looks like. Inside, they have various quizzes, puzzles, and games to complete. Once your child is done with it, just return it to the visitor center to earn a cool Junior Ranger badge. We also register our child for the 4th grade pass, so we can get free entry to any national park for an entire year. We just gave our printout at the entrance, and they handed us our 4th grade annual pass. I knew having children would pay off eventually. We started by visiting various vista points of the Painted Desert. Did you know that the Painted Desert was not originally part of the park until 1932? Also, the colorful layered rocks we're looking at are called the Chinle Formations. They're made up of mud and sandstone. By the way, why does Chinle sound like a type of salsa? Yummy! After reading up on some facts and forcing our child to strike a pose, we were off to our next stop. And here we are, the popular Painted Desert Inn. In 1924, the building was originally constructed using some of the petrified wood in the region, and it was called the Stone Tree House. A decade later, the owner sold it to the National Park Services, who redesigned it into the Pueblo style you see today. They then repurposed it as a roadside inn and restaurant and called it the Painted Desert Inn.
I'm not sure if those buildings over there are the places you would stay at, but everything here is closed right now.
The Painted Desert Inn hasn't been in operation for many decades. The issue is that the building was constructed on top of bentonite clay, which expands and contracts, creating some major foundation issues. Plus, the exterior stucco cracks frequently and needs expensive ongoing maintenance. Because of that, the original operators abandoned the building, and it was eventually scheduled for demolition. By 1987, the Painted Desert Inn was registered as a historic site and saved. It was then restored to its former glory.
I don't know if you can see, but the rooms are inside here on the bottom floor, and upstairs looks like it's the restaurant. They give you a very handy area to scrub off the mud from your feet. This is how it works.
Today, the Painted Desert Inn is used for national park events and tours. It would have been pretty sweet to stay a few nights here. And during the summer months, they serve ice cream at the parlor downstairs.
Over here, I believe you can hit a hiking trail right near the Painted Desert Inn. Nicely marked trail.
Right next to the inn, there's a short trail to a lookout. Beautiful view. You really have to be here in person to appreciate it. Afterwards, we headed back to the visitor center, and luckily there was a gas station.
We almost ran out of gas, but luckily they have a gas station at the visitor center. So that was a really close call. I think we might have only had like 30 miles left.
We then headed south onto the other side of the highway and stopped at some petroglyphs called Newspaper Rock. Apparently, these were carved out by a gang of Pueblo natives. I was able to find an artistic rendition of what they might have looked like.
We just saw the Newspaper Rock right now, which was, they had some kind of carvings on the side of the rocks. I don't really know what the meaning of it is, but it might have been carved by the Native Americans that were here.
We then went to check out at the Agate Bridge.
We're here at Agate Bridge. It looks like they're doing some remodel work on these stone structures. Then you walk through here, there should be a petrified tree that forms the bridge.
And here it is, the Agate Bridge. It's a 100-foot long by 4-foot wide petrified log. The bridge has been one of the most popular sites at this national park, and people used to take pictures standing on the bridge. But due to fear of collapse, they constructed a pillar underneath it for support. Look at this ranger work. I guess they don't use any day laborers at national parks. Our next stop is the Jasper Forest. Wow, there's petrified wood everywhere.
And if you walk a bit off the side of the road to some petrified logs, you can actually touch up close and personal. Here it is. It's very interesting how they've turned to rock. This is the Jasper Forest stop out here in Petrified Forest National Park.
And as mentioned at the intro, designating this land as a national park was to prevent people from stealing all the petrified wood. But 1 ton still goes missing annually. At that rate, there's not going to be any left. So our final stop before hitting the Rainbow Forest Museum is the Crystal Forest. There's a 0.75-mile loop trail you can take, and after a long drive, it feels great to stretch out and walk for a bit. The logs on this trail looks like they have some crystal deposits in them. Also, make sure you bring a sweater. We're here in the middle of spring and the weather was so windy and cold.
This one, yeah, you can see the crystals actually, look. The crystals are here. So the Rainbow Forest Visitor Center is the last leg of the trip. And after this, we're gonna be out. Dylan's just about finished with his Junior Ranger book.
So I went in to grab a ranger to perform the final check. Looks like he's getting sworn in on a murder trial. I hope he remembers that snitches get stitches. And there you go, the Petrified Forest Junior Ranger badge. Very shiny.
So right where there's the Rainbow Forest is the giant logs trail. So we'll be walking through there and checking it out before we leave.
This is another short trail at this park. And as the name suggests, the logs here are huge. So here's the giant log. It's crazy how well preserved the logs are, and they aren't afraid to let visitors climb this one.
This looks like the biggest one so far. Yeah, it does look like sequoia, except petrified. It's taller than Dylan.
Most of the logs are actually from an extinct conifer tree. Hold on a minute. Look at this cute little beetle. I wonder where he's off to in such a hurry.
Buzz off.
Look at this. It's almost like a cholla.
Well, it was a nice little visit to the Petrified Forest National Park. We spent about a few hours exploring this place, but in order to see everything, I would recommend at least half a day. In fact, it actually might have been one of the shortest national park visits I've ever had. Really cool. But remember, if you do plan to come here, try not to steal anything. God's going to punish you by flipping you off the road into a ditch. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed these videos, here's some more suggestions. On this channel, I produce entertaining educational travel content, and if that's your thing, please consider subscribing. And with that, I'll see you on the next Pixix adventure.